It's become obvious that maybe, perhaps, to the majority of the country, that MAGA isn't quite what it's cracked up to be. Even among the people that, embraced it with open arms when it originally began to consume the what we barely recognize as what used to be the Republican Party. MAGA is Donald Trump coined the phrase "drain the swamp." MAGA is the swamp. It's becoming more and more obvious every day. But it also appears that as much hell as MAGA raises 24/7, 365, there is a real silent majority in this country, and for the last 4 or 5 voting cycles, that silent majority has come out and on an increasingly nationwide stance, or let's say actual voting habit, punched MAGA square in the fucking mouth. I'm sorry, square in the mouth. But these victories are not, we shouldn't not give them their due, but we shouldn't get too comfortable, because there is one more major election in 2024, and that the more we squeeze on the MAGAites on the state and local front, Virginia, Youngkin, talk about the biggest loser. This guy, 6 months ago, he was probably on the verge of being a shoe-in for the Republican nomination, because Trump was beginning his perp walk parade, and I don't know, maybe Youngkin thought that Trump was going to have some common sense and give up. He didn't realize that his idol, that even though he knew that he was a maniac, his whole plan was to take over the country criminally, and nothing was going to stop him. But Youngkin he's got to feel real salty right now, because he won the governor's race in Virginia, and Virginia had just, I don't know, maybe self-anointed, because I don't really see where it really was ever a completely blue state. It was leaning blue, but when you lean blue and elect Mr. Rogers' version of Donald Trump, if Mr. Rogers and Donald Trump had a baby, and don't read anything in between the lines, I don't want to get canceled by anybody, but if you could just imagine that, then you could see where Glenn Youngkin would be their illegitimate love child. But the thing with Youngkin was he distanced himself from Trump, but he promoted everything that Trump was promoting, but he, promoted it in his Mr. Youngkin channeling Mr. Rogers type way. And I really shouldn't use Mr. Rogers. It's just that when Youngkin wears that vest outfit, he looks like Mr. Rogers. But Mr. Rogers was actually a cool guy. I mean, he was like one of the first white people I ever saw that ever let a black person wash their feet in their little yard tub. But moving right along. The Youngkin had put so much of his political cachet behind making his abortion ban, his 15-week abortion ban work, and being politically powerful, taking retaining the House and taking over the Senate, and or whichever way it was, taking over the House and retaining the Senate, or vice versa. Anyway, they lost both. They had it's a blue Senate, it's a blue House, and Youngkin's got what 2 more years left in Virginia with against the Democratic run General Assembly. And I mean, he was, even with some of his stuff that was borderline, he didn't have like total stranglehold grip like DeSantis did down in Florida. Youngkin pushed the point, and he got his way a lot, but it wasn't a total walk in the park like it was for the idiot DeSantis. But the thing with Youngkin was that he was the dark horse knight in shining armor for the GOP. If Trump actually did get locked up or convicted, and the conviction started working against him, after they nominated him, because they determined to nominate him come hell or high water. And I don't know why they haven't figured out that, right now abortion is the issue, but the more you slow down the Republican juggernaut, the more people stop and think about the rest of the bullshit that you guys are throwing off the shit wagon as you come through town. So, I can't see where, that bodes well for Trump, not on the national front. On the state front, Youngkin, I don't know, is he a lame duck for the next 2 years because he's going to be running, with, an opposition, or is he going to actually run? Because if he really wants to, make 2028 his year for the presidency, he's going to have to run for re-election for governor in Virginia, so he can have a platform to work from. He's going to have to. I mean, his original platform, even though it looked bright and shining on the outside, and the nation was starting to pay attention, even if it wasn't the level of attention that was enough to make him comfortable jumping into the race to put up with the shit that Donald Trump was going to throw his way. This off-year election stuck a big-ass pin in it, and now Glenn Youngkin, without even being an active participant in any of these races in any of the states, is probably the biggest loser. And personally, I can't be happier because Youngkin is a snake. Woo, boy. But I mean, it's not that he's not, he's still going to be dangerous. He's still. I mean, as soon as the news about Ohio, the vote in Ohio where they made it law that you had the women's right to choose was part of the state constitution. So no idiots could come and take that away without a major amendment fight on the Ohio Constitution. So the Republicans just couldn't come in and have a closed door session, and women would be Stepford wives time in the state of Ohio. But I don't understand how, even though that all the losing that the Republicans have done, like I said, in the last 4 or 5 election cycles, I can't say that I'm not happy, but even though I'm gleeful that idiots are proven to be idiots, and that maybe Americans at least have enough backbone, enough community common sense to know when you're being sold a bill of goods, and eventually you just got to say stop the bullshit, as one, even though you have nothing else in common except for the fact that you're tired of hearing these mothers, all they talk is the same repeated bull, day in and day out. All they do is sling mud at people and try to put people under their heel and figure out how they can rig the tax thing so they take nothing, while they're little bullshit companies that either they directly own or they're sitting on a board of somewhere are bleeding us dry. And hey, hats off to the Screen Actors Guild, hats off to the Writers Guild, hats off to the auto workers. Y'all need some raises. Y'all need some protections into, your old age, because everybody's not going to become a millionaire, but that doesn't mean that everybody has to be miserable because you have to live a middle-class life. At one time, I mean, middle class used to be the shit. Everybody wanted to be middle class because it seemed like, well, some people were just held out from being middle class just because they were born, with a certain color skin. Other people were held out from, being middle class just because of their I don't know, their sexual desires didn't fit into, the on and off, binary definition of sexual relations that this country has had. There was a lot of people that were marginalized from the middle class life or whatever. Republicans have been stuck on the same old tune. I mean, Trump has provided the flip side with his, election line. Here we are going into 2024, and this guy is every rally, instead of how he intends to solve anything except the border crisis, and the only way he's going to solve the border crisis is to make massive deportations of anything that ain't white, and look out, because they're trying to say, these states are trying to say, in Texas, hey, if officer so-and-so asks you for your papers and you ain't got your papers, officer so-and-so can take you straight to the border, no questions asked. They're going to start taking over. They've been trying to push that, but it's a Republican thing, it's a MAGA thing, and MAGA is losing political capital there. They're losing the confidence of the people, and eventually it's going to start eroding their almighty, red meat eating base. Because every time you wake up and you see that you are more and more estranged from society, unless you're absolutely insane, and there has to be a core in any movement that is insane, where it's the core, whatever they believe in over everything else. There's always those number of insane members, but there's not as many as people think there are, as in MAGA. MAGA is full of pretenders. As soon as you put some heat on them, as soon as some reality is they're forced to face it, then they snap back to the reality of the moment and understand that, oh God, I may be a hardcore Trump lover, but I'm still human, and they're about to put my ass in jail. Or if I don't pay these taxes, they don't care if I'm a sovereign citizen or what. I'm going to lose everything I've accomplished. So maybe I should act right for a minute. But then there are those hardcore, and maybe Hillary Clinton was right for once in her life when she said, what we need is a national intervention. And how we manage to do that and not step on somebody's civil rights, I don't know, but that doesn't mean it's not needed. Well, a lot to think about. Glenn, I'm not crying any tears for you. I'm just happy that it happened before you attained any more power, because you are a true sicko. You can tell by your choice of lieutenant governor. With that, I'm going to say peace out and God bless, as always. See you when I see you. Until next time, it's Uncle Ricky from Uncle Ricky Town.